Usually when I do a video and I'm talking about the past, I try and be very neutral. Yeah, the good things happen now and good things happened in the past. They're not better or worse than each other. I am not saying that today, right? Pin your luggles back. I am saying going shopping in the high street, in a town, in the past was for a wargamer / Dungeons and Dragons player better. Yeah, I've said it. Shoot me. Oh, I didn't mean it. Ta-ra, Chuck. No, I'm not doing that. It was, wasn't it? I've just been shopping. I've had my hair cut. Can you tell? What do you think? My granddad would have called that a tuppenny all off. I had a routine. Go back in time. Take me back to my childhood. Whoa. Not after I was 16. Once I was 16, I had a Saturday job. You work. So either you get a job to stop at school or you go down to pit. Our lad. Say, oh, Dad, I'll stop at school, Dad, please. Well, get that job. Are you right? And you'd say, oh, okay. So I had a Saturday job. So this is like 15, 14. The first rite of passage for a small boy in Doncaster, where what I was born in, was being able to go into town on your own. Big step. All the bus fares in South Yorkshire were twopence. 2p, twopence. Go anywhere. Great. So you go to the bus stop, get in your bus, go up to the top, try and get to the front, if you can. If you can't, yeah, got it back. Must be some logic to that. But anyway, go to Doncaster. Get off the bus. Good plan. You go down into Doncaster. And then you used to look at things first. Don't get giddy. You're not buying anything. This is a reconnaissance. So you go down and you have a look. Any shop that looks promising. Now, because this is my home turf, I know where the shops are. I know where there's no point going in there. That's not going to do anything. But there are places to go. So number one, Stamp Corner. The Stamp Corner, still doing business. Stamp Corner. Have a look, Facebook. Or wherever you go. Stamp Corner. And downstairs, you went into Stamp Corner, they sold stamps and coins. But downstairs, big seller. And they sold figurines, war games, miniatures, Hinchcliffe, that sort of stuff. In the Napoleonic times, I don't mean the Napoleonic times when Napoleon were around. I mean when I was doing Napoleonic wargaming, big distinction, they sold orthodox formal wargames figures for orthodox formal wargaming. That's how I knew about them. And they did Hinchcliffe, 25mm, Napoleonic. They had loads of them, everywhere. All on little shelves with numbers. And you could go and have a look. You could dream about owning all them all, but you couldn't afford them all. And then you'd have a look. So you're looking, clocking what you want. See, a lot of my early fantasy figures weren't fantasy figures because nobody made them. My Rohirrim were Indian light cavalry from the time of Alexander the Great. And my Haradrim was pretty much anything that looked like a Haradrim. An Assyrian on a cataphract horse, or Mamelukes, or people from the Crusades, Saracens. Anyone who looked Eastern and old. People with biblical rangers as well. So you could get figures from biblical armies. And they could find things, but they weren't fantasy. They were historical, but they looked a bit fantastical. So you'd have a look, you think, oh, okay. Because if I bought 2 Indian light cavalry, I'm skinned. That's me done. So I'm not doing that in the first shop. I'm not crazy. So then you go you've got some ideas now, but you gently ease yourself around town. Cattle market used to be brilliant. It's not now. It's just a big concrete square with one man talking about Jesus in it. Shaking his finger at you on a box. Stood on a box. I went last time I went. But it used to be cattle and things in cages and cockles and fish And you could buy a little paper thing full of cockles, and you put vinegar on. Enough vinegar that you only tasted vinegar. You don't want to taste cockles and mussels. You want to taste vinegar. I would do that. And then you'd go to Woolworths. Woolworths was always a good place to go. Woolworths was great. They sold paint, and they sold brushes, and they sold plastic Airfix kits. So sometimes you drop lucky in Woolworths. I used to go to Woolworths for my paint, Humbrol paint. When Humbrol brought out, they brought out fancy colours. I went one day, and they'd got green leather, unbleached wool, raw linen. I went mental. Everything, our green leather, every elf, green leather belt. I was right excited. I saw a bloke in there one day, I'll never forget, and he bought Airfix model, HMS Hood, big thing. I said, and he said to the girl, take the lid off for me, get the instructions, and what does it say I need for paint? So he said, what do you need now? He said, put them in, get them all everything I need, and brushes, what brushes will I need, and glue, yeah, put a bit of glue in. And he put everything he needed, he won't hit. I remember thinking, that's what it's like to be grown up. that's top notch. I want to be able to do that. What he's just done, because I couldn't do that. You might go to the record department because they sold records as well. But there were proper record shops. So you're going to go in one of them in a minute. You always went in the Army and Navy stores. I got a dead good combat jacket, an American Vietnam War one. We always went to the Army and Navy stores looking for old clothes or posh, sort of hippie stuff. I was a bit. I wasn't a child of the 60s really. I wasn't a hippie. I was more 70s is me, 72. So I'm glam rock. Not that I didn't quite do glam rock, but I had my own unique style, shall we say. So you might go in the record shop then, because now records were a funny thing. Music, if you want to buy a record, buy an album, vinyl, that was it. You were done. If I watched a dead good band on Old Grey Whistle Test on Thursday, and I tootled off into town on Saturday, and I bought Band on the Run, that's me done. You're done. Go home. You have to go home. You can't afford it. So that's special occasions, really. Birthday money, things like that. So I looked at albums and very rarely bought one. I did buy some, but very rarely. I must have bought Genesis, Wind and Wuthering at this time because I used to play it when I wargamed. So then you go, and right on the edge of town, miles out of town, was Cuttris's. I know Cuttris's don't exist anymore, but it did. And it was right on the edge of town. They were more of a model shop. They did like glue, balsa wood, plaster of Paris. But coming back from Cuttris's was a joke shop. A joke shop, you could get plastic spiders and use them in your war games. Or you could get a bag of blue bottles, toy blue bottles, and you can have them as an enemy swarm in your game. Or you could stick them all over the net curtains and let your mum have a panic attack. But whatever. Or you could get realistic looking cigarettes as well, so you could walk through town going. You had to just blow to get some dust out. And, oh, that boy's smoking, we thought. Now, I've just been in town waiting for a bus, surrounded by 10 and 11-year-olds all days. Hey, I don't go monkeys. But there were other things. You could go to other random shops in random places. I remember going to York. When I'm thinking of hobby shops, I'm thinking of the sort of hobby shops that you might imagine in Diagon Alley. Or, if you're not a Harry Potter fan, maybe in Ankh-Morpork. That sort of place. You know, they shouldn't exist. And they draw you in. And you think, where am I? What's happened? And so I'm in York, like a weird door. And I went in, and there's a little man painting figures like that. And I bought some. I looked at some. I want these. He said, "Oh, help get them. Sort yourself out. I'm busy." I got my figures. Put them on the counter. He said, "How much? Count them up. Add them up for me." So I told him. He said, "Leave the money there. You never stop painting figures. You just let them." You have one of them shops that you think next time I go, it's not going to be there. And you'll say to somebody, where's the shop that was there? And they'll say, hey, there hasn't been a shop there for 100 years. But there's rumours that on a moonlit night, a shop appears once every century. You'd think, oh, where have I been? And you couldn't use your phone. You couldn't use your phone and say, where are the mod shops? You went to town and you go, and you set off like David Livingstone. And you'd be discovering things. You say, oh, there was a shop. And if any shop that looked a bit like gamey, toy-y, hobby-y, you go in. And you wouldn't sit at home and think, I know what I'll do today. I'll go into Sheffield. And when I'm in Sheffield, I should buy some elves. I've just bought some pack ponies for role-playing games that I'm planning for the future. You wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't say, oh, I'm going to get 6 pack ponies. Because you're not going to find them. What you do is you go into town, you have a look round, and you see things, and you think, what the heck's that? It's a genie coming out of a bottle. What am I going to use that for? I don't know, but I like it. Get one of them stuffed in your bag. And then your brain would start working. And your brain would start saying, what sort of game can you put behind that? Where can that appear in a dungeon? Oh, I like, look at them pig-faced orcs. There's a frog with a hat on. Follow one of them, please. And you get all these weird things that you didn't even know existed. And you'd come home. And your brain would be racing on the bus home with your little paper bag of stuff, none of which you plan to get. And you can't wait to get home. And it's all burning in your head. I want to play a game. And the excitement rises and the tension rises. And you paint the figures. And all the time you're dreaming and you're inventing and you're putting them into places. That's what it was like in 1972 when I was a lad. And it was like that for everybody in the world. The whole world felt like that. I've been watching a lot of politicians recently and they say things like that. You trust me, I'm a vicar. I know what's best for you. I know everything. So there you go. And if I say it loud enough and long enough, some of you might eventually start to believe me. So, I'm going to leave you with a slogan for my political campaign, and it's this. Ta-ra, Chuck.